fans are in groups talking about how it helped them to become better people or save their lives. It's overwhelming. It's too much love in it, and you get it from the horse's mouth instead of on paper from a, reporter.
Step into the electrifying chaos of 90s hip-hop, where a powerhouse R&B queen and a teenage death row prodigy allegedly crossed paths in a scandal so wild it's still sending shockwaves through the music world, leaving fans buzzing with disbelief and questions that refuse to fade. Mary J. Blige, the undisputed queen of hip-hop soul, is at the center of a jaw-dropping claim from Danny Boy, a former death row singer who swears they had an intimate relationship when he was just 15 and she was 24. A tale that's ignited fiery debates and unearthed a tangle of secrets from a golden era. What really went down between these two? And why does the story still hit so hard? Welcome to an alleged unraveling of Mary and Danny's explosive saga, stitched from interviews, whispers, and industry lore. So let's dive into this raw, unfiltered chapter and see what truths might be lurking in the shadows. Mary J. Blige was already a supernova by the mid-90s. Her debut, What's the 411, had stormed the charts, blending soul with hip-hop grit and earning her a crown that still shines today. She'd signed with Uptown Records as a teen, her voice a raw howl of pain and power, and by her second album, My Life, she was untouchable, a 24-year-old icon navigating fame and a stormy romance with Casey Haley of Jodeci. Danny Boy, born Daniel Stewart, was a fresh-faced kid from Chicago, scooped up by the label behind Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight at just 15. His silky tenor graced Tupac's hits like I Ain't Mad at Cha, a voice so pure that it cut through the label's hard-edged chaos. Two worlds, R&B royalty and rap's wild frontier, collided, and Danny says that it happened in a hotel suite after the 1995 Source Awards, a night that he's never let fade. Danny spilled it all in an interview with The Art of Dialogue, a YouTube sit-down that's racked up views and gasps.
No, it wasn't. It was Devontae's baby mama and Mary and a couple other chicks that was at the table. And we talking and we drinking. And I'm kind of excited again. I'm from the west side of Chicago, and who doesn't look up to Mary J. Blige as like, one of the queens, of that time. She's a queen of R&B at that time, at least in the hood. And we up there chilling and drinking. And I think after I left for a little while, we was talking. I think I left out, and Suge called me back up to the room. He said, "Come back upstairs, man. Old girl want to see you." Fuck is old girl? Thinking one of the other girls that was at the table. And I get up there to the room. Suge's in his room. And Misa's sitting on the bed with a sheet wrapped around her. And you can kind of see like her nice body, and she got this sheet wrapped around her. And Mary's sitting on the couch. So I know the girl that he in the bed with don't want me either. So I went in, he closed the door and shit, and I sit down and I start talking to Mary. And the inside, I'm about to lose it, because I'm actually sitting here talking to Mary. She's sitting on the couch and shit, and we ordered some food and some more drinks. And somebody knocked on the door. She ran and kind of damn near jumped behind the couch hiding. I'm looking like, what's your problem is? And she make sure that's not K. And I'm like, oh man, I don't care. I'm talking, tell me, I don't care who he is. You ain't gotta be running and jumping and did it, but she was actually talking about KC. She was thinking that KC she had like this postpartum type, the shit that people in the army probably go through when they hear bangs. Like when it came to KC at that time. Right. And she's sitting on the couch and shit. I'm like, you ain't gotta worry about him. You straight. You did it like, I'm 15, 16 years old. And she laying on the couch. And I'm sitting on the other end, and she laid down on the couch and put her head in my lap. I'm like, damn. He can't be talking about Mary. Was talking about she wanted me to come back up here, and now she on my lap. And I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, what is this gonna end up to? And she stayed a couple more hours. And we decided to go in the other room because it was a suite. We went in the other room and laid down. And she lay down with me, and she kind of like backed up against me, and every time she back up against me, I would move away and shit, you know? And from that time, I had an opportunity to go out to New York and visit her a couple.
He paints the scene. Post-awards, he's in his hotel room with his godbrother when Suge calls him to the suite. There's a crowd, women lounging, including Misa Hilton, Diddy's then partner, and Mary, the star who'd just owned the decade. Danny says that they're chilling, sipping drinks, nothing heavy, until he heads back to his room. Then Suge rings again. "Old girl, wanna see you." He returns, and it's just Mary and Misa left, the vibe shifting fast. "She's on the couch," Danny recalls. "I sit down, she lays her head in my lap." He claims that it gets cozy. Hours of talk turn to a bedroom move, and he's blunt. They had relations. At 15 or 16, he says that Mary, then 24, flew him to New York multiple times afterward, a fling he kept quiet for years, until now. Mary's camp hasn't said a word. Her team has stayed silent since Danny's claim hit. She's built a legacy on resilience, 9 Grammys, a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, roles in Mudbound and Respect, and a life story she's bared in songs like No More Drama. Raised in Yonkers, she's spoken to The Guardian about a rough childhood, poverty, family strife, but never this. Danny's not backing off. He doubled down in his book, framing it as a teen overwhelmed by a star's pull. "She was my girl," he said, confused by rumors linking Mary to Tupac, insisting that their thing was real. No hotel logs, no tickets, no witnesses, just his word. A lone mic drop in a saga with no rebuttal. The 90s were a wild west for hip-hop. The 2 biggest record labels were feuding, Suge's Iron Fist clashing with Diddy's Flash. The 1995 Source Awards, where this allegedly sparked, was a powder keg. Suge's "come to my record label" jab at Diddy-lit tensions that ended in Tupac's and Biggie's passings. Danny was a kid in that storm. Signed at 14, mentored by Suge, who he says played wingman here. Mary was Uptown's jewel, linked to Diddy's circle through production and parties, her orbit brushing the label chaos. "I didn't know what to do," Danny admitted. A 15-year-old dazzled by a 24-year-old's glow. Was it seduction, coercion, or a mix of both? He's never called it SA, just relations, a framing that split fans down the middle. Online, it's a firestorm. X posts range from Danny's lying for clout to Mary's got skeletons. Some see a double standard, swap genders, and it's a Me Too blaze. But here, it's lucky kid, or where's the proof, trending on X. Danny's birth year, 1977, puts him at 17 or 18 by late 1995. Still underage, still dicey. But Mary's 6-year edge looms large. California law is strict. 16 is consent age now, but statutory lines blur with intent then. No police report, no case, just Danny's tale. A memory he's hauled into 50-year-old Mary's spotlight. "She flew me out," he bragged to media outlets, a detail that's either a flex or fuel for doubters. Mary's kept her life locked down. She told Elle that her stepkids with ex-Kendu Isaac stay private. Her divorce a public bruise that she's healed through music.
There was so much stuff going on, and I was just very, very alone in that time. And I survived that time where there was so much hatred everywhere coming just after me and down on me. And I survived that time by learning how to love myself and pulling myself out of it, everything. So the title Strength of a Woman came from actually me understanding my strength as a woman, not from this divorce. The divorce stuff came later, which is when the divorce happened. But I was writing this album earlier from the perspective of a woman fighting really, really hard for her marriage. Right. I was a strong woman who had survived a bunch of BS, who was fighting for my marriage, which was in danger.
Right.
But nobody knew.
Right.
But me.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where the title came from, and then all of the songs you hear, like Set Me Free, all that's for straight, that's from the situation.
Danny's faded from his label's peak. Post-Tupac, he drifted, a voice in the ether until this. He admitted that he was confused when he heard about Mary being tied to Tupac. Did she juggle them? Tupac's ex, Desiree Smiths, backed that on The Art of Dialogue, but Mary zipped it. Suge is in jail. Misa is quiet. Witnesses to Danny's night are ghosts, leaving his story a solo track. Some outlets have pushed the SA angle hard, but Danny himself has never gone there. Just, we hooked up, a teen's lens on a star's pull. So what's hidden in all this? Maybe nothing. Mary's team could see it as old noise not worth a response. And Danny's book sales spiked, a motive that some skeptics flag. Was he just trying to get clout off a queen's name? Or maybe it's shame. Hers silent, his bragged. Trauma messes memory, experts tell Psychology Today, and Danny's, I don't know if I should say this, to The Art of Dialogue hints at blur. Suge's send him up claim fits the label's wild lore, but no one has corroborated Danny's story.
I went into it was a sophomore project. I was scared to death. I was going through a lot. And so this was my way of speaking and trying to get all this stuff out of my heart and off my chest, and, you know, kind of a cry for help. When the fans responded and said Me Too to the My Life album, it made me feel less alone. People were really suffering just like me. I used to write poetry when I was a kid. I used to write little poems and stuff to myself. And all those days came back when it was time to write, you know, the My Life album. It was just how you feel. I just wrote down how I felt and what I was going through.
Mary's My Life era was chaos. Did Danny slip into that storm? No receipts, just a voice, and a queen who's outrun worse. The industry is watching. Diddy's trafficking mess at MDC, and Jay-Z's VMA suit with Tony Busby tie Mary's 90s peers to heat. Jaguar writes, Monsters rants on Piers Morgan Uncensored drag Jay-Z and Beyonce into conspiracy mud. Mary's dodged that net, her star intact. BET honors Super Bowl halftime, but Danny's tail scratches at it. She was my girl, he said, a claim that's half boast, half plea. But Mary's silence is a fortress. And at the end of the day, this is all alleged.
If Mary tried to do that shit again, I'm in. I'm a Scorpio. What the fuck is you talking about? Get down.
She was going through shit at that time,
Yeah,
too. We
man.
all know about her, right?
Yeah.
No proof backs Danny's story, no flights, no sweet logs, just a 15-year-old's word against a legend's reign. Did it happen? Could it have been consensual? Flying me in sounds big, but where's the ticket stub? Fans are split. He's lying versus she's too quiet. But what do you guys think? Did Mary and Danny cross that line? Or is this story just something Danny said to sell more copies of his book? If it did happen, what does that say about Mary? Should she address it or just stay quiet? Let me know in the comments below.